I thought it was a very balanced budget and putting money in the right places. Lots of course, support for cost of living, so near-term challenges, but also making some very big, I think, structural shifts that are really going to help us going forward. Whether it is the reductions in childcare costs, all the moves on Skills Future, Level Up. These are all very significant and impactful moves. So I thought it was a fantastic budget, actually.
Perhaps you would like to speak more on the impact it would be for the Malay community as well.
Sure. Well, I think the impact on the Malay community mirrors the impact on the overall community, depending on the demographic set that you're in, right? So income groups and things like that. But I think the support for the enhanced support for childcare. We have a lot of kids in Malay families, right? The support for seniors, not only in retirement adequacy, but also in support for their health as well as their caregiver support. I think these are really meaningful. The education scene, I think, really trying to level the wage gap between ITE and poly. I think that those will also be very significant.
Firstly, of course, we welcome the $1.9 billion of assurance package to help Singaporeans cope with the cost of living. But as we have mentioned before, these are short-term measures, and we hope that the focus can be on more fundamental changes that can help Singaporeans raise their real wages so that the bulk of the population actually do not require handouts. Secondly, actually, one of the features that I really like in the budget is the changes to the Skills Future. They introduced this $4,000 credit for those aged above 40, as well as a training allowance for those who take on full-time courses. So I like this focus on full-time courses because it then allows those who have been retrenched or displaced to actually take on training that really gives them deep learning to enable them to actually move into a different industry and improve their employability overall. Previously, because of the smaller amount of the credit, they are only able to take on shorter courses, which doesn't change anything much fundamentally.
I think it's one of the most progressive budget that I've sat through. And I think there is really a lot of emphasis on helping those that are really in need, the vulnerable, those that are less privileged in the community, ranging from education to healthcare to even in our taxes itself. So I think it's really, really very significant. And I think it is really something that I think the government has taken from the Forward SG reports and has really translated it into implementable and concrete actions that we are taking to ensure that no one is left behind. So being in the health GPC, so I would say that healthcare is something that is very, very important, especially since the cost of healthcare is going up. And I think especially for aged care, we are going to be a super aged society. And the government has committed to spend $3.5 billion in the Age Well SG initiative itself. That's really quite significant. And the money will go to many, many different things. But I must say that the focus is really to make sure that we go preventive, focus on preventive care, which is very in line with Healthier SG, and also to go into the community, make sure that we can deliver care in the community rather than the hospitals or in acute settings itself. It's important that we focus on preventive care, which is also in line with Healthier SG, and more importantly, to embed care in the community. This is because we are a small island. We don't have much land for care facilities. And also, a more important thing, as we grow older, we want to live and age well in the community and not in a care setting. So it's important that we have the finances and the initiatives and the policies to make sure that this can take place within the community itself. And Aged Care SG, I think DPM has mentioned, we will expand the number of active aging centres across Singapore, and this is to combat loneliness. We will also make sure that we have programs like assisted living and more support for home care, so that seniors can be cared for better at home through home nursing, home medical, home support services. So that's really very, very wonderful. And also the finances will go to, in a sense, making the larger environment a much senior-friendly, much more dementia-friendly environment. I think just to share, I've been championing some of these efforts both in Parliament as well as in the community itself in my SMC in Yio Chu Kang. Sometimes when we work across different government agencies, we need to find where are the right funding sources. So these additional funding sources that coming from this budget will be very, very welcomed. And we want to make sure that we can implement more of such things across the estate, be it more rain shelters, more ramps, more grab bars, and more lifts in the estate itself. More importantly, also not only in the estate, but also within the homes, where some of these initiatives, we can ensure that the seniors' home are well equipped and well upgraded to make sure that some of these facilities, some of these features can be found within the home.
I would say that this year's budget is something that is very encouraging, at least for me, and very motivating for students, especially the IT students. And beyond that, as an educator, I do believe that the whole idea of lifelong learning is really being heard in this budget itself. So as a whole, I take it as the budget is progressive, but there are many parts that I'm very happy about in terms from an educator point of view. So I think there are two types of students who would benefit from this completely. I think the first one would be the ITE students. I think this gives them a good motivation to continue their studies to a diploma and eventually get a diploma. And I think this also helps in our whole idea of how we understand lifelong learning. It encourages them to do better in that regard. And I really hope that they would take advantage of these perks that have been provided for them. So the second group I feel that will really benefit are those who are above 40 and they have the increase in their skills future. I think there are a few more announcements for them, but I think the idea that the skills future is being topped up gives them opportunity to realize other parts of of their career in terms of progression. So I do believe that for them, it's an opportunity to not just upgrade themselves, but to see how they can actually take advantage of how technology has actually moved forward. So this is the time where they can pick up skills that could actually enhance their career furthermore. And I think that's something that's great. The other issues I always hear from those who are already in the above 40s and they are thinking of what to do next. And I think many of them, their concerns about taking up another diploma, for example, have always been about the question about money and how do they balance with this with studies and work. And I think the opportunity for them to get a 50% of their allowance and as they continue to study over the duration of the course, I think is something that's truly beyond my imagination. I feel that's something that we should really take advantage of. And even for me, and now I'm thinking whether I should take a second diploma. But I was thinking of like AI and all the other things that are emerging. I think that's the whole point. You want Singaporeans to take advantage of the emerging technologies, and at the same time, if they have some idea of a diploma that they feel that can enhance their career even further, this is the opportunity to do so. So I do hope that Singaporeans take advantage of these situations, given that the idea of how we truly believe in lifelong learning is being heard strongly in this budget. So what the budget really means to me is this. At the end of the day, it gives me this whole feeling that the government really concerned about our well-being and from our career progression in terms of how we want to take lifelong learning. I think it's something that's it's really heard out strongly. So what's important that I heard and I remember they have our backs. And I think this is something that I feel very encouraged and motivated. And I do believe that if Singaporeans can take advantage of all these situations, I think we can be assured of a brighter future for all. So I do believe for the Malay Muslim community, the budget as a whole really benefits Singaporeans. But I do believe that for our Malay Muslim community, we want to make sure that they are given the opportunity to, progress in terms of their careers. And I think it's important for them to take advantage of all these news that came out to support our students, from the IT students all the way to those who are already in the mid-careers. And it's a time for them to reflect back and how they can enhance their career further, especially in terms of technology. I think this is the time for them to take advantage of the perks. For example, I think it's most welcome for them to actually take up that 50% of the allowance being used for the duration of the studies. I think this sets up a good impetus for the community to actually look into areas where they can enhance their career, but value add Singapore as a whole.
I think it's a generous budget. Not just addressing some of the major concerns of fellow Singaporeans and workers. For example, through many of the cost of living mitigation measures. But more importantly, I thought two areas in the area of education and equaling and social mobility are two very significant moves and steps. In the area of education, I'm glad we have a very very generous top up of $4,000 as Skills Future credit under the Skills Future Level Up program. I think that this will augur well to help, particularly those 40 years and above who are more vulnerable, particularly in this new landscape. So therefore, we are giving them a leg up to help them to upskill, upgrade themselves, and outlive them. And the second area is on training allowance while some of them undergo some of these programs at our various institutes of higher learning. I thought that's useful because so that they can have some form of sustenance to tide through. And I'm glad also that DPM has heard our call from the labour movement on unemployment support. I think more details will be fleshed out later this year, but we welcome that. And finally, in the education space, a particular leg up for ITE graduates. I thought that's one significant and bold move to help them and to encourage them and to motivate them to not to go beyond just getting their ITE qualification, but to upgrade themselves and pick up even a poly diploma. And I thought the various scholarship and sponsorships will augur well to help them and encourage them and motivate them forward.
Well, I think some of the measures announced by DPM Lawrence Wong does address some pain points in my constituency. One point that particularly resonated with me was in relation to providing assistance to couples applying for PPHS homes. And this is something which I raised in October 2022. And I'm really glad that government is now providing support to these couples to get some grants to be able to apply for rent in the private market. Yeah, so I'm sure this is welcome news. The other thing that resonated with me is the fact that what we see here is a sharing of responsibility. So government is providing programs to support our people to be the best they can be in terms of developing their talents, their skills, and then our people to get the full benefit of these programs would also have to put in their effort in terms of time, and I'm sure there'll be quite a bit of sacrifice on their part. So together, we are able to then lift Singapore. I think it is a responsible budget. It's a balanced budget, at the same time focusing on developing the talent and moving on, also making sure that our community and our nation remains resilient. So I do think there are positive vibes that will come out of this.
I think that this is a blockbuster budget for the seniors. So I'm the vice chair of PP Senior Wing, and we are seeing announcements that many of us has asked for a number of years. So and it covers almost every dimension. Yeah. So first of all, in terms of it addresses the immediate cost of living pain point for seniors, and second of all is it helps us enhance the employability of seniors. In particular, for many of the Skills Future announcements are noteworthy. The one in particular that stood out is allowing senior Singaporeans to go back to school, take an advanced diploma, take a diploma, and have courses highly subsidized and also have a training stipend. That is extremely important to help our seniors go for a top up in their knowledge and continue to have a productive years ahead. I also like the fact that there's a lot of a focus on low wage, low income seniors. So you see enhancement in the wage income scheme, supplement scheme. You see improvements to the civil support scheme, and you also see more support to help employers give raises to lower wage seniors. And then the next part is retirement adequacy. So something that I've been championing for years is increasing contribution rates for CPF contribution rates for seniors. And last of all, it allows us to better support our seniors to age in place by strengthening assisted living services and facilities and providing more support for home care services. So I'm looking forward to more details to be announced during COS. Now, that's for the seniors. And in general, people who care a lot about seniors like myself, we are quite delighted. Now, talking about M&D, I would say that the government made quite a big announcement last year at National Day Rally by PM, where we introduced the Prime Plus as well as the standard HDB categorization, and which will be implemented later this year. Now, the purpose of this, as we all know, is to make sure that we can keep housing affordable, but also to improve social mixing in all estates, and also to make sure that the system is fair. Now, you can have all the schemes designed fairly, but what matters is the budgetary allocation to make sure that it translates into affordable housing. Now, our standard HDB housing, which is what we already have seen in the past, is really affordable. So what I will be looking for and is announcements at the MND GPC COS briefing to showcase how the government is going to use additional resources to make sure that the plus and the prime housing models are affordable to Singaporeans of all income group.
I think what sort of left an impression on me was when he mentioned about a stronger economy needs to be working together, reinforced with a stronger society. So this budget, where DPM mentioned that it's first installment of the Ford SG, is actually first installment of many installments to come. But I think what's key is that on top of just focusing on the stronger economy that he always does in the budget, but also the fact that I think a stronger society needs to work together with a stronger economy to reinforce each other. So I think that's why I think in terms of the enhancement to the package to help cost of living, it needs to work in tandem with the involuntary unemployment stuff, and also with the in terms of actually to help the society in various other ways, especially in terms of the skills future sort of enhancement credit for those that are 40 years and above. You get 4,000, and those IT students that are doing in diploma will get actually 10,000 if they finish their course as well. But I think the other element in terms of the economy is actually quite key. The fact that I think small businesses will be helped in terms of 50% in terms of their corporate tax rebates up to a certain amount. But I think all those will help firms to make sure that they can tackle inflation on top of forward-looking elements as well. Because I think he's topping up artificial intelligence in investments and others as well. So it gives, in my view, it gives a very long-term perspective of what his plans are for Ford SG to make sure the society remains strong, but also to make sure it works in tandem with a stronger economy. Without a strong economy, without an innovative economy that can sustain growth at 2 to 3%, which is what he mentioned, we saw growth that's 1%, but 2 to 3% and above if possible, in the midst of a context of an environment where it's getting a bit more volatile. The frequency is getting shorter. He gave an example from the 80s all the way to 2020 when we had COVID. You can sense that the frequency is shorter and shorter, but we have stood through it quite strongly. So the fact is, I think we need to enhance our capabilities. We need to make sure our workers remain adaptable, remain highly skilled. We pull in investments, plan ahead by pulling investments with his credit scheme to make sure that companies actually invest in Singapore as well going forward. So I think, in my sense is, I think it gives a very rounded, forward-looking, forward SG sort of perspective. First installment, there could be many more installments in the future. It gives a very good positive sort of equality element, because the IT students are being looked at now, families are being looked at. There's a bit more details going forward as well.
So I think firstly, as a unionist and as the chair for Manpower GPC, I have to be excited by this because such a significant part of the budget is dedicated to solving both the workers' immediate concerns and really developing a platform, a huge trampoline for workers. And I'll take them in turn. I think we know that workers have been affected by real wages not increasing last year because economic growth was slower. And of course, even though inflation was down, but inflation was still higher than wage growth, and therefore workers did not have real wage increase. Now, by enhancing the WIS support and increasing the local qualifying salaries, what it means is our lower wage workers will have wage increases that is going to better help them meet cost of living challenges. Obviously, this is in addition to all the CDC vouchers and GST vouchers that's going to help them tide over a rather difficult period of time until we can sort these cost of living issues. Now, the second part is really what I think is a highlight because we have strengthened the trampoline significantly. it is almost a tapestry of manpower support schemes. And what do we mean by that? I think firstly, workers are concerned about losing their jobs because of technological disruptions from AI, green transition, and just realignment based on geopolitical issues. And by providing the $4,000 in SkillsFuture credit, it's going to help workers to pick up new skills. And in addition, it's a huge training allowance, which is $3,000 per worker, up to 50% of that. And lifetime is 24 months. Now, this is very significant. Workers generally find it harder to train because they need to take time off away from work or may need to leave the workforce entirely. This is going to help them cover their bills, have the reassurance that as I pick up new skills, I can at least take care of my family. So this is going to help them make career transition better. I think you encourage more workers to want to make career transition if they need be. Now, the other part that really wasn't shared that much but give us a lot of encouragement was on the workers who were involuntarily displaced. DPM said that more will be shared later part of this year. But what it means is it addresses the retrenchment issues head on. Workers who were affected, forced to leave the workforce, can enjoy some form of support from the government, depending on certain parameters. But what it means in totality is workers now, can stay more resilient in your job. If you want to seek new opportunities, you're empowered to do so. And unfortunately, if you fall off the grid, there is a big trampoline that's going to help you to bounce back. So, as a unionist and Manpower GPC, I'm very happy and excited that the PAP government has the backs of our workers.
Well, I think this year's budget is a very practical as well as a balanced one. First of all, it took into account the bigger trends that are happening around us, the challenges as well as the opportunities that may be present, and how Singapore should respond to this. But at the same time, it also recognizes the immediate challenges and the stresses that Singaporeans are facing. Therefore, that's why there has been top-ups to the assurance package to focus on the cost of living stresses that Singaporeans are facing, and of course there are other measures that that focus on, for example, childcare, on youth, education, the modular package on seniors, to support the different segments of our population through this very difficult period. At the same time, it also looks at the broader horizon, looking ahead, what needs to be done. And these include investments into high potential industries, building up digital, green, various capabilities that Singapore need, as well as upskilling our Singaporeans. Because in the end, the challenges, the trends in the future, there's a lot of unpredictability. However, despite that, it is how we are positioned, how we position ourselves to handle these challenges that I think is most important. And so by putting in place these these longer term investments into whether it's industries, capabilities or skills for Singaporeans, I see this as scaffolds that we put in place to support them to go that longer distance, come what may. Well, I hope that Singaporeans will feel assured that the Singapore government will continue to have their backs, and that the government will continue to monitor the needs, the demands, the challenges, the aspirations of Singaporeans, and do its best to, alleviate the stresses as well as support them as they continue to go forward. I suppose this is something that continues to be dynamic, and that I suppose it's also a two-way communication. And today's budget is but the first part, a first installment of that Forward Singapore budget. And so I think we can continue to remain hopeful in terms of what may continue to come. And I think we should continue to keep an open mind. But I hope that Singaporeans will feel assured that they will continue to be supported.